I'm a believer that this team's going to win the national championships.
The rivalries, it's up there on top of the list, man. And if we allow them to devalue it, we lose a lot of what makes college football special. Don't let them do it. Don't let them devalue what it means to you. And welcome to JUCK on Bucks. Appreciate you so much for joining me on a Wednesday morning. I don't know if you guys check the weather. I know a lot of people are into the weather, talk about the weather, check the weather every day, always know what the weather's going to be. I'm not a weather checker. I check the weather when I'm on vacation to make sure it's not going to rain. However, on Monday night, I was lying in bed, and for some reason, I got it into my mind, what's the weather going to be like tomorrow? So I checked the weather, and the one time I checked the weather in forever, I'm reading this forecast, and it's like thunderstorm, then it goes to hail, then it says potential tornadoes. I'm like, what's going on, man? I'm never checking the weather again. But, we did have a big storm come through. Hope everybody's all right. Hope you didn't get any damage, hail damage or anything from the big storm. I also, I put out an episode on Tuesday, and every so often I put out an episode that I know that a certain fan base is not going to like. And this episode happened to be about the show causes going to a couple of Michigan coaches, Minter and Klinksdale, and just tying it all into everything up there and how it's the dirtiest program, bar none, that we've ever known about in the history of college football. And it's really not debatable. It's not debatable. It is the dirtiest that we've known about or that anybody has any proof of. And I knew what was coming when I put that out, right? And for that very reason, I didn't even put it on Twitter or anything. Didn't promote any clips of it because I wasn't in the mood to deal with them. You know what I mean? They're so very sensitive, like so very sensitive. My buddy DG, however, did clip a portion of that and put it on Twitter. So I looked at the comments, and you would just be amazed. You would be amazed at the number of them that said crying about signs. Now, keep in mind, I said absolutely nothing about stallions in that video, but crying about signs. But the funniest part was they were literally posting the Sports Illustrated cover. Do you remember this? How deep it went? Do you remember the picture of Tressel on Sports Illustrated that said how deep it went about Tatgate, which looking back, everybody now, like not just Ohio State fans, but all around college football, look back at Tatgate and go, wow, that was really extreme. The punishment they got for that when we're allowed to, switch teams whenever we want for a couple of $1 million now. However, part of what I said last night or in that video was Ohio State fans and the Ohio State administration reacted to that with anger over the people who put the university and the team in jeopardy. Not everybody else. Everybody thought the NCAA was extreme, but angry at the people who knowingly broke the rules was the sentiment around Ohio State. The most interesting part is we're supposed to be, according to them, the lowly, amoral public school that doesn't care and anybody gets in, like the way they talk. Like they're the ones that sit on the high ground with their nose in the air in their Michigan man stuff. And they act just the opposite. They're hypocrites. They're frauds. They're Al frauds, Tony Al frauds, all of it. And I had to deal with them. And I didn't even want to, guys. I really didn't. But, whatever. It is what it is. I also I did a little 7-minute show about Bill Belichick, and I put it out at like midnight that I mentioned in that show. And I didn't know that you guys were so into sports gossip. I mean, I didn't think many of you would watch that. A lot of you guys watch that. So, I mean, hey, we can do a lot of those little 7-minute videos about sports gossip. I love to get in the muck. No doubt about it. Our man, Tyler Bowen, Ohio State offensive line coach, talent acquisition assassin, has been scouting heavy all over the country for talent. And he's putting in quite a few offers. Matter of fact, he's going out of the country too. He's going up to Canada as well. He's getting in early on the class of 2027. I won't get into those 2027 offers just for the sake of confusion, except for the ones from Ohio. And we talked about the one that is out to a player from the state of Ohio. That's Kalel Johnson. Cincinnati Taft, 4-star, top 200 overall. He's going to climb exponentially. When you look at this guy's frame, when you look at his footwork, there's no doubt about it. 6'7", 280 pounds and lean. And over the weekend, he was at the Under Armour camp in Pickerington that featured a whole lot of Buckeye targets and commits. Offensive line commit Sam Greer was there. Sam looking good. And Sam has a picture next to Kalel. Now, Sam is every bit of 6'6.5", 6'7", and Big Kalel has got Big Sam beat. Having two true elite level tackle body prospects out of the state of Ohio in back-to-back years is pretty damn awesome. I don't think there's any way Tyler Bowen lets Kalel get out of the state. And Tyler Bowen also extended an offer to a top 300 kid, 6'7", 275, Grayson McKeo out of Pennsylvania. This dude looks like a really good prospect too. And Tyler Bowen will not be denied. We're going to have an excellent offensive line class in 2026. Already got the makings of a fantastic one with the 3 that are committed already. But he's going to get 6. They're all going to be dudes. Brings in Justin Terry in the portal, bringing him back home from West Virginia with 4 years of eligibility left. Tyler Bowen is an animal. But back to that Under Armour camp. Really awesome camp. 2027 guys that were there that got invited to the Future 50. The Under Armour Future 50 is a really big deal. You had, obviously, Jameer Brown. He was there. That's the number 1 wide receiver in the country in 2027. Wayne High School, just a total burner. Great hands, and he's getting better at his route running and everything. He's just a total stud. So he obviously got invited to that, as well as one of Keenan Bailey's top targets at tight end, D'Angelo White. D'Angelo White, a teammate of Bo Jackson up at Villa Angela St. Joe's in Cleveland, got an offer last year when he was down at an Ohio State camp. And it is pretty clear that this guy is going to end up being one of the elite tight ends in that class. Excellent athlete, keeps getting bigger. 4-star top 300 right now, top, 15-ish tight end in the country. That's going to skyrocket. He's already got offers from Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Auburn. Like, he's going to have them all by the time this is done. Total stud. And Keenan Bailey on him early. Ohio State looking like the early favorite here. As for the class of 2026 guys, Sincere Johnson was there. Obviously, the number 1 Buckeye linebacker target on the board outside of Tyler Atkinson, who's like the white whale. And CJ Sana, Ohio State commit from Olentangy. CJ Sana and Sincere Johnson, these guys both got themselves invitations to the Under Armour All-American game. Again, huge, huge honor. They are the real deal. Now, CJ Sana in his film looks really, really fast in his film. Sincere Johnson, obviously quick as a hiccup, and when he puts his foot in the ground to attack, like, he is there immediately with bad intentions. But watching these two do drills back to back, I was so impressed with CJ Sana. Like, this kid is elite, and James Laurinaitis found himself one right in the backyard. This dude's 2 inches taller than Peyton Pierce. He's long, he's rangy, and he is fast. Nasty attitude, too. Take a look at Sincere Johnson and CJ Sana doing the same drill at the same time. Sincere, an elite athlete. CJ Sana is right there with him. So, James Laurinaitis going to score big at linebacker in this class of 2026. Like to remind you today, if you have not yet liked the show, everybody, let's do that now. It's your friend JUCK. I appreciate you guys. I did ask you the other day to help me get off of 13,000 subscribers. As grateful as I am to have 13, I don't like the number. I want to be off it. And I started the show today 6 short. So we might already be off this by the time you get this. There's a good chance we are. That doesn't mean I don't want you to hit subscribe anyway. Just makes it easier for you to find the show. Helps me out. There's only like 50% of people who subscribe to shows that they regularly watch on YouTube. I want JUCK on Bucks to have the highest percentage of anybody in the industry of repeat viewers subscribed. So let's go ahead and do that. Like it, subscribe it. I was checking out the ratings on Apple Podcasts. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, I appreciate you very much, especially those of you who have left reviews. I had a 1-star review from somebody. Now, I'm not new to this. I deal with this at work. It always bothers me so much because I'll have these reviews and they'll come in and say, like, I've been here 10 times and every time it's been great, but today this, and this was wrong. 1-star review. And I'm curious, how is it that you didn't decide to give a review any of those 10 times it was great, but the one time it wasn't up to your expectations, you leave a 1-star review. Like, how is that fair? You understand what I'm saying? Think about it next time you leave that 1-star review, guys. Just think about it is all I'm saying.
I grew up an Ohio State fan. As you can imagine, I was wearing my Braxton Miller jersey as a little kid. So getting to grow up, getting to know Laurinaitis and Matt Patricia, and getting the chance to be a Buckeye was really surreal to me. And I jumped on that opportunity. There wasn't any other place I want to be. I came out here today. I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to get that invite. I worked my hardest in every drill, and I ended up getting it. So I'll see y'all in Florida.
All right. Ryan Day gave us a press conference today. Going to be the last time we get to hear Ryan Day talk, probably until Big Ten Media Days, which actually – Big Ten Media Days last year, I remember doing the show when it was going on, and Ryan Day just was walking around that place. He was like the Don walking around Big Ten Media Days. And it was like Nick Saban at the SEC Media Days used to be. It was so cool. It was like a different vibe to him. And go figure, he ends up winning the national championship, becoming the best head coach in college football right now in the JUCK on Bucks rankings. And you could trace it all back to Big Ten Media Days. There was something different about Ryan Day. So I can't wait to see that this year. But he gives a press conference today. It covered a lot of different stuff, so I think we need to go over it. For one, he mentioned that he was going to have the guys read a book in a past press conference. Somebody asked a follow-up question about the book, and I was not listening to what the book was, but that guy, whoever he is going to get a 1-star review on his podcast because nobody wants to hear about that book. On Beau Atkinson, stud transfer from North Carolina, Ryan Day said that his parents or his mom was from New Hampshire, so they had a connection there. Both the parents went to UConn, and he said that Beau made it clear that he wanted to compete at the highest level, said he loves being a Buckeye. That certainly makes me excited. He definitely did not want to stay at North Carolina and play for that creepy 23-year-old. I'm sorry, she's 24 now. I was corrected by a UNC fan in the comments section. I missed Jordan's birthday. Creepy Jordan, happy birthday. But coach said that Beau's got some real size, some real experience, and he certainly does. Talking about the number 2 defensive end on this team, in my opinion, and I know some of you guys were not too happy about that. Thought I was discarding Caden Curry. I love Caden Curry. I'm not selling Caden Curry short at all. I just think that there are some limitations to his game, and I don't think he is as much of an every down defensive end as Beau Atkinson is. Coach Day talked about having all these different defensive ends and that they've always rolled guys, and they'll continue to do that. Not always rolled guys, but definitely not last year. Not quite so much. I wouldn't call it a roll. There was a slight rotation, but they're going to do a lot more of that this year, I'd imagine. He also mentioned that there are now 18 defensive linemen on the team, and that's why you got Matt Patricia in here to get everybody in the best position they can be in to do what they do best. When talking about the portal and looking for defensive tackles, he said, yes, we have been looking for defensive tackles. We will continue to look for defensive tackles. That press conference coming the same day that Troy Pikes, who the Buckeyes were after, decided between Ohio State, Georgia, and South Carolina. He chose South Carolina. That's not a blow to us at all. This guy was not someone that was going to help in 2025, in my opinion. And, it was a whatever to me. If they really wanted him and they got him in, okay, great. But yeah, nothing that I was upset about to hear that he committed to South Carolina. But yesterday we talked about Justin Kirkland. Is he a realistic possibility for the Buckeyes to pursue? Well, we don't have any confirmation that he has a visit set up or that there's even been any contact made, but we do know this. Larry Johnson follows 1,200 people on his Twitter account. That's not a lot. Today, he decided to follow Justin Kirkland, and Justin Kirkland decided to follow Larry Johnson. Now, it's not uncommon. We saw the kid from Liberty do it when he entered the transfer portal, followed Larry Johnson. Sometimes, you'll do that to maybe get some momentum going, like big schools are after you. That kid ended up signing with Cal. But Larry Johnson doesn't just follow people back for the heck of it. Larry Johnson chose to follow Pork Chop, and he's not playing games. Now, I'm going to assume that there's at least some kind of conversation taking place, which means there's a chance. There's a chance for Pork Chop to come for a visit, and if he does, Ohio State is going to nail that one. A 340-pounder who played 300 snaps last year And that's a lot of snaps for a big dude like that. And if I hear one more idiot tell me on Twitter or something that he does nothing in the passing game, I'm going to lose my mind. That's not what a 340-pound nose tackle is supposed to do. If he does, that's a huge bonus. And he's obviously not coming in as a backup. He's a starter. And that's not what we're looking for. We've got a starter. Now, Ryan Day made it clear that they were not going to add someone just to add someone. And of course they're not, which means if they do add someone, we can be excited about it because they've evaluated them and saw that it's someone that can definitely help in 2025. Last week, I talked about the NCAA settlement and how the judge basically put a pause on things and told the NCAA that the NCAA and the plaintiffs, the representation that is representing the thousands of walk-ons that essentially are going to get kicked out of their sport, not just football, but all the sports, that they come up with a solution so that those kids aren't just thrown out. Now, my hope was that the walk-ons that we've seen leave Ohio State, like T.C. Caffey, one of my favorites, didn't just leave Ohio State because Ohio State had a tough meeting with them and told them, when we go from 120 to 105, you're not going to make the roster most likely. So you're probably going to want to go enter the portal now when all the teams are looking to try to get yourself a spot somewhere. It was my fear that that's what was going on. Well, confirmed. That's exactly what was going on. I don't know specifically that any one of those guys entered the portal based on that, but Ryan Day said they were operating on the fact that they thought they were going down to 105 immediately, which means they were having tough conversations with players who weren't going to be on the team from 120 to 105 because he didn't want to have to look somebody in the eye after this was all said and done and said, I no longer have a roster spot for you. So preemptively doing the proper thing, he went and told guys that he thought would not make that 105. We don't think you're going to make the 105, to give them the best opportunity to succeed after that roster spot was gone. So he goes and does this, and now it's on a pause, and now we might see it grandfathered in that none of those guys had to leave, which is just reprehensible that the NCAA could let it get to this. Reprehensible that they're arguing against this because it'll just be difficult for them to deal with. I can't get over how disgusted I am by that. Like, these guys, they pay their way to go to school. They practice just as hard as everybody else. And to be honest, they're not as big. They're not as talented. They take tons of punishment out there just for the dream of wearing that jersey. Like, I love these guys more than anybody on the team. So very good to hear that the coaching staff is, of course, doing right by them. Makes you proud. And of course, Ryan Day and his staff do that because they don't get the reputation they do by jerking people around or lying or misleading or pointing the finger and the blame at other people and things like that. Now, looks like we're going to end up in a situation, I think, where these people do get grandfathered in, which is great. Meanwhile, T.C. Caffey, he won't be coming back. My hope is he ends up at Bowling Green running the football for Eddie George. Speaking of Eddie George offered a scholarship the other day to one Favor Aki, Ohio State recruit Favor Aki, who's been visited 4 times over the spring down to Ohio State and Miami. Pretty much a Buckeye lock. Eddie trying to poach Ohio State's board now, and I don't know how I feel about that from Eddie. This is something I did not anticipate when he took that job, and I was all excited. Speaking of the roster, what they're working on, they're going to go with 90 scholarships instead of 85. Now, every team going to decide how many they want to use. So 90 full scholarships is what Ohio State's going to work with, which is going to give them 5 extra, which I like. I anticipate that'll inch up as we go on and on and on. Once you get used to the 90, then you're going to want to take another flyer here and another flyer there, which is great. And they'll get that up to 105. That'll be great because what that is just more opportunities for those guys that are on the cusp, usually Ohio guys, to get that scholarship offer from the Buckeyes. Of course, they talked about the draft, and Coach Day said he was not disappointed where anybody went as far as position or sliding in the draft outside of Seth. Seth, of course, didn't get drafted. He said he thought he should have been drafted, but you got the Achilles. and the fact that he just plays center and isn't a center/guard, which, man, if Seth wanted to play guard, he could play guard. But regardless, that was the only thing he was disappointed about. He was very happy with all the fits. He thought the fits were really good, where his guys landed. Each individual guy landed in a good situation. He said it's easy to get in the NFL, hard to stay there, and he wanted to make sure that everybody got a good fit. So now they got the opportunity to stay in the NFL. Easy part's over. Now you got to go put the work in, become an asset. He said he's had unbelievable feedback from NFL personnel about their guys. By the way, we talked the other day about the Cardinals, how it kind of appeared like they were trying to do what the Philadelphia Eagles have done with Georgia and Alabama players, really. Ton of Georgia, ton of Alabama players getting drafted by Howie Roseman over in Philadelphia. And it looked kind of like the guys, the GM over at the Cardinals was trying to do the same thing maybe with Ohio State players. Well, he had a press conference the other day, and they kind of brought this up, and he denied it. He said, no, it's just kind of the way it's fall that those, the next best guy on our board is an Ohio State guy. I don't believe him for a second, but I love his roster. 7 Buckeyes now on the Cardinals roster. He's clearly copying that strategy, and it's a great strategy. It really is. Get the guys from a program that wins, that work hard, that are selfless, that practice against top-notch competition, which he mentioned that the Ohio State guys practice against top-notch competition. Mentioned Denzel Burke by name, him going up against those wide receivers. So you definitely got to be following the Cardinals a little bit more as we move forward. And we will this season, along with the AFC North. I know that we've got a podcast full, audience full of AFC North fans, whether that be the Browns, Bengals, Steelers. Not many Ravens fans here, I wouldn't imagine, but we do got Browns, Bengals, Steelers. So we'll keep up on the AFC North as we move forward. We'll do some one-off episodes on the AFC North race and battle, etc., on those teams as we move forward into the football season. But as far as the offensive line, Ryan Day divulged something today. He said that he's not getting into, who's starting where on the offensive line, but he did say Austin Siereveld is going to be a starter. Now, Austin Siereveld was playing right tackle in the spring game, playing tackle over spring. So that was kind of the biggest surprise coming out of spring. And many people thinking that he's going to start at right tackle. I think Ryan Day just confirmed it. The only other place he could potentially be starting would be right guard, you would think, because maybe Tegra didn't play the best last year. And if Austin was going to start at guard, it would be that spot. But I don't think that's happening. I think he just confirmed to us that Austin Siereveld is the starting right tackle on this team, which is pretty amazing. Other guys he mentioned by name that have progressed as the spring went on. Phil, Carson, Tegra, Josh Padilla, and Ethan Anyanwa. So Philip Daniels, Ethan Anyanwa come in, transfers, they're progressing. Carson and Tegra, and then Josh Padilla, backup center. Love to hear that. Definitely a lot of quarterback talk as expected. He was asked if he had a leader in his head. Of course, he said no, but he did acknowledge it was a 2-horse race. And Tavian is as good as he's been. He's not played enough football yet, so he's not in the race. Lincoln, he said, was slightly ahead of Julian going into the spring game, and then Julian performed better in the spring game. Obviously, he said it was generic defense. Lincoln missed a couple of throws early, but then he got in a rhythm. Both handled the environment really well, and a step in the right direction. We know it's very generic, but they still got to execute. He said he thinks there's been a lot of progress made, and there will be a lot more time to make more progress in the next couple of months. And they're going to be getting on the film as well as the physical stuff. But now they have cut-ups and they can watch themselves, which he's encouraged about. When talking about where Julian needs to improve, he was talking about being able to now put on cut-ups. So Julian can now, not just Julian, but Lincoln, watch himself running a play and then watch CJ Stroud, Dwayne Haskins, Will Howard, Justin Fields running that same play, because you've had the same plays year after year, and all these different quarterbacks come through. It's a crazy good advantage to have that steady offense coaching staff and a head coach that is, the quarterback guy and the offensive guy, that you can be able to have those resources to look back on. That's a real advantage for a young quarterback. Talked about Coach Locke in the running back room and how in the past, at times, 2023 comes to mind, we've only had 2 or 3 running backs, and how Coach Locke in such a short time has built this running back room up. He said that James Peoples had a good spring, but they didn't really tackle him. They did tackle C.J. Donaldson. He got better as spring went on. He said Sam Williams-Dixon is fighting. He had some good practices, and he thought he got better. Then he said, and Isaiah is going to get healthy and come in. Turbo Rogers going to come in. So a lot of depth. Talking about 5 guys, 5 really awesome guys. Love this running back room. Wide receiver. He said we got some different kind of guys in that wide receiver, some different styles. Now, when we look at the starters, Jeremiah and Carnell come back, so there's nothing different there. When we look at Brandon Innes, the presumed starter for Emeka, really similar game. Could he be tipping his hat at a little bit more of a rotation? Because after those 3, you definitely got some different styles with Quincy Porter, with Mylan Graham, with Bryson Rogers, all 3 very different than the starters. Maybe. I would really like that. I don't know, though. I kind of would just be thrilled if every ball went to Jeremiah and he won the Heisman and lit the world on fire, too. But, of course, he was thrilled we didn't lose anybody in the portal. It says a lot about our team, and it absolutely does. The only other team that I've heard of that hasn't lost anybody was Alabama, which pretty impressive. 2 monsters of the sport don't lose anybody. Coach was then asked about CJ Hicks, because what press conference could be complete without that? We should just have a separate CJ Hicks press conference on its own. The 4th-year linebacker turned defensive end who's never been able to get himself on the field. That definitely deserves some talk. Forget about Jason Moore or Will Smith Jr., Jarquez Carter. How's he coming along? No questions about that. We got to talk about CJ Hicks. So what did he say about CJ Hicks? He said you know what? I'm going to read you this. So I read a quote from an article after the press conference. Quote, "It says a lot about CJ Hicks that he didn't jump in the portal. He would have had plenty of suitors, surely. We're talking about a former 5-star recruit here." That is literally everything this is, man. I want to ask you a question. If Cody Simon, a guy who played 300 snaps in 2023, the 3rd most for a linebacker after Tommy and Steele, they each played 600, Cody played 300. If Cody Simon last spring had moved to defensive end at the beginning of the spring, do you know what everybody would have been talking about in the press conference? Not how's Cody doing at defensive end. They'd have been talking about Cody's out of the way. Now CJ Hicks and Sonny can play together. That's how it would have gone. Anyway, Day said he's made the transition well. When you make that transition from playing off the ball to on the ball, and then he brought up Sonny Styles, how impressive it was for Sonny to make that transition so fast. Going to take time for CJ. He's hoping CJ can do the same, but it does take time. As opposed to being off the ball, running to the ball, now he's constantly engaged in blocks or looking to avoid them. Said he did a good job in the passing game, needs to keep growing in the running game, learning how to get off the edge, how to set the edge, how to get off blocks. But he's encouraged. It's got to be a big summer for him. Then he said, I know Mick and Larry are talking about exactly what weight they want him at. The weight thing, this was my thought watching him in the spring game. He had a couple of good rushes, but 70% of the time, it looked like they stuck their linebacker down at defensive end, which in fact is what happened, but got handled physically a couple of times by Max LeBlanc and Jelani Thurman on a straight up one-on-one block, which, if you put a tight end on Logan George or Caden Curry, like they're blowing that up. So if they're intending to play him as a 3-down defensive end, I think he needs more weight. But if you put more weight on him, then can you use him how everybody else wanted to use him? Now that you bring in Beau, I'm not so sure if they don't just change his role entirely. I think they probably should now that Beau's there, but we'll see what happens. Should be interesting to watch. But I appreciate that Coach Day took the time to give us the lowdown today. You know, we talked the other day about my quarterback getting pranked. That pranker, it turns out, was the son of an NFL defensive coordinator, the son of the Falcons defensive coordinator, who got the phone numbers off of his iPad. I'm a little late to this story, but I just found out. Can you imagine if that was your kid? Can you just imagine? This dude's got his iPad out, and if we're to believe the story, the kid goes and gets these numbers, and it wasn't just Shedeur. Several guys got pranked. Look, Tyler Warren, Kyle McCord, Isaiah Bond, like all these dudes got pranked, and I think they're trying to leak it, say that it was this one kid that got it all done. Man, oh man, I'm just thinking, I got a 21-year-old, like it's how embarrassing, number one, but I said the other day, like that kid's going to look back in 10 years and be ashamed of that, because funny pranks are like when you embarrass somebody. This one kind of crosses over into that's kind of cruel, man. Especially like Isaiah Bond. He didn't even get drafted, right? So he gets a prank phone call saying he's a GM, gets his hopes up, then he goes undrafted. That just sucks, man. Like pranks should be like remember when your buddies used to pants you in high school, you know? Yeah, it's a little embarrassing. It's not cruel. I mean, I guess it could be cruel, but it's not intended to be cruel. Anyway, that's my quarterback, man. I'm defensive of my quarterback. All right. Now, tomorrow's show, I got some good news. I got some bad news. The good news is I have completed, after a long, laborious task, my top 25. We're going to talk about my top 10. The bad news is I don't have the Buckeyes at number 1. I don't, guys. I'm sorry. I got to be as honest and impartial as I can. The Bucks aren't number 1 in my 25. But we'll talk about that tomorrow. I appreciate you guys so much. I'll talk to you then. JUCK Bucks out.